Hey guys, this is Casey Ferris. Thanks for checking out another one of my videos. Today we are talking about D-Log, which if you don't know is the log mode for DJI drones. So if you shoot with a drone, you may have asked yourself at one point, should I shoot in normal color mode or should I shoot in some weird thing like D-Log or d-cinelike or maybe even something else? So I want to take a couple minutes and explore a couple reasons why you would want to shoot D-Log or some type of log format. So I have 3 clips here. These are shot on the DJI Phantom 4. I had a chance to shoot in a couple different styles, so we're going to take a look at that. Here's the interface of the DJI app. You have a few different options you can pick here. The default is none. There's also D-Log, d-cinelike, art, black and white, and vivid. The other important aspect of your video settings is the color style. And pretty much it's just 3 numbers for sharpness, contrast, and saturation. The default is standard, which is 000. You also have presets for landscape and soft. And a lot of people like to set everything all the way down, which on DJI drones is -3. So sharpness, contrast, and saturation are cranked all the way down. So my tests are kind of the default settings, which is color none and style 000. And then I have D-Log with 000 and then D-Log with everything cranked all the way down. I could have shot more, but these were the ones that I was particularly interested in. So let's see what we got. The default settings right off the bat look pretty good. There's nice saturation and contrast. It's pretty sharp. So it looks pretty nice. The D-Log in the standard style is definitely less saturated, has a little less contrast, and definitely needs some grading to pump up. And then D-Log with everything turned down is much flatter, much less saturated, and so definitely needs some work to make look good. So you may ask me, if this looks great right out of the box, why in the world would I shoot flat and make more work for myself? Here's the big reason that I can see. If we bring up our scopes, we can see the information that is being recorded. On the default settings, we have data all the way from the top to the bottom on the parade, and on the vector scope, we can see things are pretty saturated. When we switch over to D-Log, we can see there's a little bit more definition up here in the highlights. Things aren't as clipped at the top and bottom. And on the vector scope, it's just a little less saturated. And when we switch over to D-Log with everything turned down, our signal pretty much fits in between the top and the bottom, and there isn't much that's being clipped out. When we compare D-Log with the settings turned down to D-Log at standard, there's a big difference in the waveforms here. And of course, on the vector scope, the saturation is turned quite a bit down. So the advantage to shooting in a log mode is you get a little bit more detail in the highlights and shadows. On my default settings, let's say I want to bring some of these highlights down and get a little bit more definition on her skin and maybe in the car. If I bring my gain down, look at my scopes. They're just completely chopped off. There's not really any advantage to bringing the gain down because it's not recovering anything. It's all clipped off. And so really the only thing I can do is play with my curves and try and increase the contrast in the highlights to kind of get some fake detail there. Now, if I switch over to D-Log and I try and do the same thing, first of all, we can see these highlights aren't quite as bright. So if I bring my gain down, it's still clipped, but I have quite a bit more detail here in the skin than I do with the default settings. And then if I switch over to D-Log with the style turned all the way down, I don't really have much that's clipping. Everything's kind of within this usable range. And so if I want to bring this image down and get some nicer skin tones, I have that data available. So even though this image might look better kind of off the bat as a whole, when it comes to highlights, shooting in D-Log or flat D-Log definitely gives you a lot more to work with in the brighter parts of the image. And the same thing pretty much goes for the shadows too. So in my default settings here, if I zoom in, maybe play with my curves a little bit, I can try and bring some of this detail back in this wheel well, but there's not a lot to work with. It's pretty dark and you can't really see inside of here. But if I switch over to my D-Log, you can see that right off the bat, you can see a little bit more, and there's definitely some more to work with there. And so it's just a little bit smoother down in the shadows. And so shooting in a log format gives you a little bit more details in the highlights and the shadows. And you may be looking at this and saying, gosh, I don't want to spend that time color grading this flat, ugly looking log footage. I just want my stuff to look pretty good off the bat. The good thing is that there's ways to speed up the grading process for log footage. And one of my favorite ways to do that is to use a LUT. So I'm just going to take this shot, the D-Log with the standard style, and give it a quick grade. I'm going to make a new node by hitting Alt-S, right-click, and go to 3D LUT. And I'm going to use GC Falcon DJI Log to 709. If you're interested in this LUT, it's available for free from groundcontrolcolor.com. Just go there and click free LUTs and go down to free DJI Log to Rec 709 LUT. And that gives us a decent starting point. I'm going to go back to my first node and make some tweaks. I'm just going to maybe boost my lift a little bit, and I'm looking at my scopes just to bring back some of that detail, and maybe bring my gain down just a little. And maybe I'll saturate the whole thing just a little bit. So now we have a pretty nice looking image with just a couple tweaks that actually looks better than our default settings. So it may seem really scary to color grade log footage, but there's ways to speed it up. Same thing goes with a flat D-log. I can use this same Falcon DJI log LUT. And because this footage is a little bit flatter, I can just tweak it a little more and add my saturation. And now I have those nice skin tones and a good looking image without that much work. So I hope that helps you if you've been confused a little bit about D-log and shooting in log in general. And if you find yourself grading quite a bit of drone footage, we have a couple packs of stylistic LUTs designed for D-log. There's Falcon, which is just a bunch of general stylistic LUTs designed for aerial footage. And they work with Resolve and SpeedGrade and Premiere and basically any program that you would use for color grading. We also have Phoenix, which is a pack of warm toned LUTs designed for drones, and Raven, which is more of the cool toned LUTs. And the cool thing is, if you buy Phoenix or Raven, they also come with versions for GoPro's ProTune. So if you have a drone that flies a GoPro, you can use it for that too. So yeah, tons of LUTs at groundcontrolcolor.com. Check it out. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. If you like this, make sure to hit that like button. And for more color grading tutorials and post-production tutorials in general, subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. My name is Casey Ferris. I'll catch you next time.